I'm Alphonse Provinziano. I'm the managing partner of Provinziano Associates, and we're a boutique family law firm located in Beverly Hills, California. And we have approximately 15 attorneys focused solely on family law. And to tell you a little bit about myself, I'm a certified family law specialist through the State Bar of California, and I've handled thousands of cases in the last 20 years, many of which a major topic has been spousal support. And oftentimes what I'll have is a spouse that didn't make a lot of the money in the marriage, and they'll come into my office and they'll say, I need to get spousal support, or I need to get alimony. And what we have to look at in spousal support is, what is spousal support and what are the different types of spousal support that are available? And this is really where the battlegrounds really come. At the onset of a divorce case, spousal support is something that is a temporary order, and it may be a higher order than in the end. At the end of a case, there's something called permanent spousal support. If you are not married, you don't get spousal support. There may be other things you're entitled to. You may have the rights to a Marvin action, which is a palimony dispute, but you don't get spousal support. But it's interesting, even if one spouse thinks that they were married and there was a marriage ceremony and they weren't in fact lawfully married, well, you can still get spousal support potentially. So there are some exceptions, and that's what requires a nuanced analysis. But the bigger issue is, how do you calculate spousal support? The person who doesn't make a lot of the money, that's the person who's going to be entitled to spousal support. And spousal support is often a lot more than child support. Oftentimes, spousal support can be double or triple what the child support order looks like. The reason why that is that it's judged by what's called the marital standard of living. And that's exactly what it sounds like. How much did the parties spend on travel? How much did they spend on clothing? How much did they spend on entertainment? What was the type of housing that the parties lived in? The court's going to look at all of those factors, and they're going to come up with what the marital lifestyle looked like. If you have people that are working professionals, but let's say one person was just vastly more successful in their career than the other, it's a different marital standard of living, and that there'll be different amounts of spousal support. In calculating spousal support, initially, it all goes through the gross income of the parties after the appropriate deductions are made, and we get a guideline support number. The factors that go into all of these things, though, are the tax settings of the parties, any extraordinary expenses, who's got the children, because that will a lot of times fluctuate spousal support. And a lot of times what happens is that if you're married for under 10 years, it's only half the length of the marriage that you can get spousal support for. So you can't get spousal support for life in most situations if you've been married under 10 years. You can get spousal support for over 10 years if you've been in a long-term marriage, or if one spouse becomes disabled during the marriage, even if it's a short-term marriage and can't work again. So there are some limitations on that rule. The important thing is, at the onset of a case, is to move quickly to seek support orders. Oftentimes these can be negotiated between attorneys, but you have to go into court and seek the orders as a backup if you can't reach a resolution, because you lose something called retroactivity. So if you don't file for your support orders early on in your case, you may not be able to get back pay for the time that you were owed. At Provinziano Associates, we take a proactive approach to spousal support. We try to help the parties reach a resolution to the case, but we also try to immediately have a court date to preserve our clients' rights one way or the other, because spousal support is intended on making sure that the supported spouse can maintain their marital standard of living. And a lot of times it's the difference. Is this going to be a rocky start to their new life, or are you going to get the right support amount so that you can move forward, set yourself up, have a good house, have a good life for your children? Spousal support is going to make all the difference in the world.